As a young atheist, C.S. Lewis agreed with many other thinkers of his day that the universe was all there is, that life was just an accident, and that human beings were nothing more than a result of random evolution. But after his conversion, all this changed. The order, complexity, and vastness of the universe became a reflection of a creator, of someone beyond the universe. After coming to a belief in God, Lewis also came to see all life as having a divine origin and saw in human beings the image of that divinity.
What was it that caused C.S. Lewis to risk his academic reputation and to spend just so much time every day, whether in writing letters, speaking on the BBC, publishing essays, writing books? I believe it's this radical vision that Lewis had for the eternal destiny of every human being.
I think that humanity is what enabled him to speak so profoundly into our lives. He's a person who had experienced grief, who'd experienced doubt, who understood that we are all less than perfect and also, right beside the angels.
He speaks to us where we are in a way that almost no one does. There's something about his ability to talk about God in non-religious terms, which is not only important, but at this point, vital.
In today's culture, that emphasis of Lewis, that humanity is of supreme value, very precious as bearing the image of God, is important because of the dehumanizing aspects of culture, whether it's through media or through scientific advance. People misconstrue those to devalue and dehumanize, and Lewis was always a sworn opponent of that kind of trend.
Today we live in a media-driven culture where people are bombarded with media messages every day. Some researchers indicate 5,000 a day messages we're getting bombarded with. In that world, we are beat down, we are lectured to, we are hammered on, and I think we grow smaller and smaller and smaller in our own eyes.
That the Bible says God made every human being in his own image, and that seems to mean there's something about human beings that reflects the glory of God. So there's a dignity about every human being, there's a greatness about human beings, even when they're ruined by sin, and you can sense it. In fact, somebody once said, if you even see a ruined castle, it's still magnificent, even though you can't even live in it. But you can see what it was, and you can see how great it was designed to be. And there's something magnificent even about the ruin. And I think that even ruined by sin, human beings, being in the image of God, have this greatness about them, and therefore there is a sacredness about them.
Lewis, by using imagination, shows what we really are. It's this biblical idea that we are created in the image of God. And just to think about that doesn't mean that we're cookie cutters, that we're made in the image of God in a simplistic way, but that we are something ineffable, we're something at least in part ethereal, we're something eternal. To be able to communicate that as Lewis does is, again, infinitely important. There's almost no one I can think of who's done it the way he's done it.
Well, I mean, that notion that Lewis would often say that there is no ordinary person, you are talking to an immortal being, and those are the kinds of ideas that you just wouldn't hear at a revival tent meeting. Nothing against revival tent meetings, but it kind of blew a lot of our minds, those kinds of very simple ideas, yet they're rooted in the Christian tradition, but so fresh and so novel. And you just wonder where those kinds of thoughts came from.
C.S. Lewis had a radical view of humanity. Here's what he wrote. There are no ordinary people. You have never talked to a mere mortal. Nations, cultures, arts, civilizations, these are mortal. And their life to ours is as the life of a gnat.
You haven't met a mere mortal because there are no such creatures. We aren't mortal. We are given a choice of which direction to go for our immortality and eternity. But eternity, get used to the eye you're standing in it.